KETV Newswatch 7, chronicling the stories impacting our community. Stories making a difference. Stories that matter to you. This is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle.
Congressman Don Bacon has devoted his whole life to serving this country. Think about it. He wore the uniform of the United States for nearly 30 years as an airman in the U.S. Air Force, and now he's serving the great city of Omaha. Let's give General Don Bacon one more round of applause for doing such a great job fighting for Nebraska's family.
And first-term Congressman Don Bacon gets a shout-out earlier this month from Vice President Mike Pence during his visit to Council Bluffs. Bacon's hoping that endorsement and the work he's done in Congress will convince voters to re-elect him this fall. Good morning, I'm Rob McCartney. This is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle. Between now and May 15th, we're dedicating all of our upcoming shows to the primary election. It's part of our year-long commitment to covering the issues and candidates running in 2018. We started with the 2nd Congressional District, and today we're finishing our look at that race with Representative Don Bacon. Now, over the past 2 weeks, we've talked with former Congressman Brad Ashford and fellow Democrat Kara Eastman. Now, this is pretty familiar territory for Congressman Bacon. Less than 2 years ago, Bacon launched his first political campaign against longtime politician and now former Congressman Brad Ashford. Well, now, 24 months later, the tables are reversed. Now, Bacon comes back to the Metro almost every weekend. Earlier this month, he held a series of roundtables. The first was with local law enforcement. Bacon says he wants tougher penalties for straw purchases. That's when someone buys a gun for somebody who can't legally buy them. That's what happened before the death of Officer Kerry Orozco. A bill in the House would raise the maximum prison sentence to 25 years. Now, the same day, Congressman Bacon talked with area school superintendents. He told us they have him reconsidering his position when it comes to arming teachers in the classroom.
But what I heard from every single person in here is no.
And joining me now is Congressman Don Bacon. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
It's great to be back.
So let's jump right in. What did the superintendents tell you?
They were not only unanimous about not giving guns to teachers that were trained, they were passionate about it. And even I know 2 or 3 of them who are supporters of mine, conservatives, were also passionate. And it just made me rethink through this and said I should reconsider. Now, I think maybe some local areas like Texas, they may have some different feelings, but when you have every superintendent saying, hey, I'm not only opposed to it, I'm passionate about it. I mean, they weren't literally poking me in the chest, but it sort of felt like that.
Gotcha.
And even those who are good supporters. So I listened.
So you're reconsidering. Does that mean you've changed your mind?
Well, I sure am not going to push it on our school district.
Okay.
So I think there may be some grounds of some other areas that feel strongly the other way. I don't want to say, I do like some local control, obviously, here. But I don't think it would be right to force something on our local school district when they're so opposed. But I will tell you, I've done 5 fish fries in the last 3 weeks. Bacon likes fish, evidently, right? The thing that was interesting, I had teachers come up to me and said, I want to be armed. Then I'd have another person come up, we cannot let this happen. I was getting this at every fish fry 6, maybe a dozen times. And so it was interesting, it was on people's minds, but there was many people saying, and they were teachers, that I'd like the ability to defend myself. So it's interesting to get this dialogue.
What other ideas did you all talk about? Was it just arming teachers?
We talked too about adding more security measures in the school. A lot of it has to come from federal funding. Can't be all of it. It's got to be a joint program. If we want to make the schools more secure, it's going to be a partnership. See, and there's a lot of focus on gun control right now. And my position to you on this would be, no matter what we do over there's 300 million guns in our society, and we have a mental illness issue. Our schools will remain vulnerable if we don't do some things for our schools as well. And this is an area that we all agree on. There's a bipartisan support that we need to secure our schools. Now, to what degree, that's debatable. But I'm already on 2 different bills that will improve our school security. And I'm running a task force in Congress right now that is going to look at what else can we do for our schools. But clearly, this is one area that we can agree on in a bipartisan way. And I think we have mental health issues that we can also focus on and do that in a bipartisan way. And then gun control will be more partisan, but if we don't agree there, it doesn't mean we can't work on these 2 areas where we do have agreement.
So you think leave the 300 million guns out there and work a different way to get around this?
I think these other 2 areas, we have a lot of agreement across the aisle. Now, there's a lot of disagreement on what to do with gun control. I always hear about we need to ban military-style weapons. Well, there are not military-style weapons. M16s and the burst guns that our Army uses are not available. So what we're really talking about is semi-automatic weapons. So if you ask someone, are you for banning all 152 semi-automatic type guns out there, you'll get a different answer from different people. Most people would say it's violating the Second Amendment.
Students in Florida went to D.C. after the shootings in Parkland. Did they meet with you? Did you see them there?
I didn't see any of the Parkland students. Of course, I saw them on TV, and that's what's great about our country. People can get involved.
Right. And do you think that movement of theirs or their efforts will just fade away, or do you think it'll eventually lead, say, possibly in changing the Second Amendment?
I'm not sure about that, but this is what I do know. If we do nothing, we're going to still have another incident. This is bound to happen. So we just can't pretend that this is going to go away. So we got to make the changes that we can. And I must have received 100, 200 phone calls right after the incident, and it was do something. But doing something is not necessarily the right answer. You got to do something wise. So I just think it's right to let's do this thoughtfully, analytically. We know we can make some improvements to our schools. We know we have a problem with mental health and folks, dangerous people getting guns that should not have guns. We know we can work on those two areas to make an impact. And the Second Amendment itself, I think our Supreme Court's been pretty clear on that. But the dialogue is all right. That's what makes our country great.
All right, let's look at some of the other issues. As we saw, Vice President Pence was just here. He was promoting the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. He pointed out that people going back to work, the people are going back to work. There's the federal tax deduction. However, in Nebraska and Iowa, when that happens, when the Fed cuts the taxes, the states have to make it up. In light of that, how do you promote this plan?
The tax reform is one of the most important things we did this past year. First of all, 90% of our taxpayers, our hard workers, are going to get money back. And that's going to help out with their families. In Nebraska here, we're talking typically $180 a month. That's more gas in the gas tank, easier to buy groceries, maybe plan for a vacation. It's very important. 90% of our families will be getting that. But more importantly, or just as importantly, I should say, is we're allowing companies now to compete against Canada, England, Ireland, who had almost half of the rates that we had. And that's important. We want American businesses to compete and win. And we were the only major company that taxed overseas earnings twice. And we want to make it possible for American businesses to bring their money back and invest here. So because of this tax reform, Apple's bringing back $350 billion, 20,000 new jobs, and they're paying for 1/40 of the cost of the tax bill by themselves.
Yeah, but I don't want to stick on this, but I mean, again, the state has to come up with that money.
They have to adjust their taxes.
Right, and so how do you, in light of that, how do you convince someone that, yeah, we may be giving you more back on the feds, but sorry, this is going to happen on the state?
Well, I know Governor Ricketts and the team are unicameral, because I've talked to them, know that they have to make tweaks so it's revenue neutral for Nebraska. Each state is going to have to tweak their tax laws to conform to the new taxes that we have. It's not intended for them to tax more, but there has to be adjustments, and each state has to make some modifications to their tax law, and that's what's happening here. So I know the goal here from the governor is not to raise taxes, but to make those modifications so it's revenue neutral.
You mentioned competing on the international stage. Tariffs, big issue right now. President Trump saying he wants tariffs on aluminum and steel. Yeah. However, I've heard of people in the ag sector. They're concerned that if we do this, there'll be a retaliation from some of those countries.
Right.
And right in the crosshairs is agriculture, because they can tax those, they can come up with their own tariffs. Yep. How do you support or do you support the tariffs, and how can you, if you do, in light of what's could happen in agriculture?
Well, first of all, it's a very legitimate concern that our agriculture will be the target of retaliation. So we have to be very careful here, and I share those concerns. I believe if a country's treating us unfairly, you target that country. You don't do a broad-based tariff. And the president initially had a broad-based tariff. Now he's refined it a little bit. My opinion is probably still too broad. We should target those countries that are unfair with their trade practices, because we want free trade, but you can't have free trade if a country's treating you unfairly. But make it very targeted. Broad-based tariffs do not work. And our agriculture community here will be targeted by that. We are the fourth highest export state. Every other row of soybeans is exported, every third row of corn. We're the largest exporter of beef. We stand to lose a lot in retaliation. So I think we should be very cautious and be very specific of who we target.
Who's on your list then of targeted of countries? Do you have a list of names?
And I think China would be one, because there is some unfair practice. They're dumping steel on our market at a discount price that is subsidized by their government. So it would be one example. But I'm glad the president took Canada and Mexico off that list, because they're one of their biggest buyers of Nebraska agriculture. So I think it should be very specific, and it should be equal. If they're doing, you know, a 10% higher tariff on us than we're doing on them, well, we should do that to them. Or if they're putting more barriers for certain things, well, we should say we're going to make that equal. But I'm for free and fair trade.
Right. Why'd you vote for the president's budget?
Because it was going to work towards a balanced budget. Now, in the end, the House had a different budget that we ended up passing, and but even then, the budgets are a starting point, and they get changed. My goal was to get a budget passed that allowed us to do budget reconciliation to get tax reform. I didn't agree with all the budget numbers coming out of the House, but they are a starting point. They're not what you end with. But this will enable us to do budget reconciliation and get tax reform done. This gave us a chance to get 50 votes in the Senate, or 51 votes in the Senate, to pass tax reform. Without the budget, I would have taken 60 votes.
And how do you tackle the deficit? Huge concern.
It is a problem, and I think we have to do two things. So first of all, we're going to do a balanced budget amendment here in about 2 weeks. I'm a co-sponsor on that. But we need to have more discipline in domestic spending. And I would say it was a letdown what we had to do to get this last budget agreement done. Back in late January, I had to vote on a budget agreement that was bipartisan. The good side of it was we passed the best defense bill we've seen in a decade, and I helped write it. I've been working on that from day one. It had some improvements for veterans, and it also ensured that we didn't have a shutdown or a long-term shutdown or another long-term continuing resolution. The cost of that was, Chuck Schumer says, I want $50 billion for domestic spending to go with the $70 billion for defense, roughly. And that was the only way we were going to get a budget agreement. Now, we could have voted no. We would have had a shutdown, then we had another year-long continuing resolution. I think that was a worse choice. But the bad side of this is our deficit is going up. And I think in the end, we have to constrain our discretionary and get to some kind of entitlement reforms. But a better way to do this is to grow our economy to help pay off some of those deficits. And right now we're at 2.6 or 2.7 GDP growth. If we get to 3, we get to 3.5, that would pay for a huge part of our deficit.
I want to talk a little about the campaign itself. In 2016, Second District congressional race topped $4 million.
Right.
$2.5 million raised by Ashford, 1.6 by yourself. About 55% of your donations came from leadership political action committees. You can kind of see a list of the donors here. Some people might not like all that outside money coming in. How do you justify it to them?
But I think, unfortunately, both myself and my opponent do have a lot of that PAC money come in for that. And it's the reality of the races today for competitive races. We're one of those 40 seats that are very highly fought over to win. And not only the $4 million from the two of us, I mean, he had an extra $1 million roughly, but there was outside money coming in as well to the tune of about $10 million. Now, I think people have a right to spend their money the way they want. If they believe in supporting free trade, to give to political action committees that support free trade. If they believe in supporting animal rights, they can give to that. And this is what's going on here. We have folks who are contributing to causes that are near and dear to them, and then they support candidates they're like. And I think there's goodness to that. What we want to make sure we have is transparency, that we know who's giving to who. And I think we need to have maintain that regular reporting, or maybe even do more reporting prior to the election, so we know exactly who's contributing to whom. I think one of the things we could do is put a longer honeymoon period after a person retires from Congress before they go right back into a lobbying position. And what we see is that revolving door, and I think that helps feed some of this. And I don't like it either, but I also want to protect your right to contribute to causes you believe in.
Would you agree to changing Citizen United then?
Not right now. I think, again, I want to respect your right to give, if you support animal rights, or if you want free trade, or if you support the Second Amendment, whatever it may be, you should have the right to contribute to those causes and let them support candidates that they align with.
Yeah, but I can't compete with a major organization. I'm just a working guy.
But you're a hardworking guy.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But still, I don't have the funds.
But that's how they do it. But people put in $200, $300, whatever it may be, $50, and that money gets grouped together from thousands and thousands of people, and then they end up supporting candidates that they like. So if you're, like I say, if you are supporting free trade industry or in agriculture, let's say you're a corn grower and you want congressmen that support free trade, you give maybe $50, $100, but all that money is consolidated and they're supporting candidates they like. And that's part of democracy. Your money is a form of speech where you want to spend it. And if I tell you you can't, I don't think that's right either.
Okay. I want to take a short break now. When we come back, talk more issues: national security, Social Security, health care. You're watching KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle. You're watching KATV News Watch 7's Chronicle. Joining me this morning, Republican Congressman Don Bacon, who's hoping to keep his seat in Washington. So let's dive into a few more issues. Do you support sending more troops overseas in the battle against ISIS?
I think right now we have about the right amount, and I think the president's strategy has worked. So I traveled to Afghanistan and Iraq over Christmas. In Iraq, there is no real estate held by ISIS today, though they had a third of Iraq about a year and a half ago. Tremendous success, still challenges there. In Afghanistan, we're seeing the momentum change. We're seeing our forces moving some of their forces from Iraq over to Afghanistan. So I think in general over there we have about the right amount. And the president's policy is working. One change that he made, the previous administration would try to attrit ISIS or Taliban. Under General Mattis, it's surround and annihilate. We don't let them escape, so they can't fight another day. And it's taken a toll on our adversaries.
You're a retired general. What do you see as the biggest concern right now in the military? Is there a weak link, and how do you fix it?
Well, there's a lot of issues right now. We went 10 years and cut the military by 18% since 2010. Then we did 37 continuing resolutions while we're fighting 2 wars, while we're trying to do deterrence in North Korea, deterrence in the Baltics, with a worldwide presence, and our military suffered. Today, only half the Navy aircraft can fly. We have fighter pilots who are flying 11 hours a month before they deploy. Think about it, that's 1/3 of what was going on when I was a captain in the 1990s. We have the oldest, smallest Air Force ever, the smallest Army since World War II, the smallest Navy since World War I. And our 4-stars say our readiness levels are the lowest they've been since 1977. Now, we passed this defense bill that has a 10% increase in funding. We're going to give our military the first pay raise that matches inflation in over 10 years. And I think our military families deserve that. We're up in cyber, we're up in missile defense. We're now investing in our nuclear forces that have not been really invested in, for the most part, since the 1960s. So I feel like we really made a lot of progress this year. I've worked on this bill every single day. I got to use my expertise, and I'm very proud of it. And I look forward to continuing this work to get our military healthy.
You mentioned nukes. There's an upcoming meeting sometime between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. What do you want to come out of that meeting?
Well, first of all, we should do no concessions prior to these meetings. What we've done over 20 years is take their promises of meeting and peace, and we lift sanctions. And then they continue doing their nuclear program, their missile program. So we need to keep our foot down on them right now when it comes to sanctions, and even raising them up until we get a good agreement with them. So in the end, we have to have North Korea that's nuclear free. Right now, we think they have 60 nuclear weapons, and they have missiles that can strike anywhere in the United States. It is a threat to us, our allies in Japan and South Korea, and he's a volatile, unstable leader. So it should concern us.
If you were at the negotiation table there, what would be your absolute no, I'm walking away from the table right now if you don't do what?
They need to give us their nuclear weapons, and then in return, we help them out with their economic situation. I mean, the average North Korean is 4 inches shorter than a South Korean because of malnutrition. They live 10 years less than the average South Korean. They're starving. Kim Jong-un and his dad and his granddad starved their people to arm North Korea, and they're paying for it. So I really think if we can, hard negotiations, but we have to be able to ship out their nuclear weapons and move them to the United States, their program. But then in return, we should be able to help them out with their economics situation, open up the doors and have a big impact on their people. I don't know that Kim Jong-un will do that, but that's what I would be aiming for.
Okay. Another issue right now, Britain says it's highly likely that Russia was involved in the poisoning of a former spy and his daughter. Russia, of course, is denying that. How big of a threat is Russia, and what do you want to do with them?
Russia is a threat. They are challenging us in the Baltics. Ukraine, they are fighting a war with Ukraine effectively. All those neighbors fear them tremendously. And I traveled out there with Speaker Ryan this year, met with 5 presidents and prime ministers along that periphery, and they do fear Russia. Russia is aggressive. They're doing cyber attacks. They actually went into Estonia and kidnapped one of the Estonian intelligence officers, brought him back to Russia. So they are a threat. They want to control their neighboring countries and make them proxy states or allied with them and following Putin's wishes, and we can't let that happen. They're NATO allies, so we got to stand by them.
A couple quick issues. Infrastructure, $1.5 trillion. How big is the infrastructure to you? Will Nebraska see some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important to Nebraska. I've been around enough. I was doing 5, 6, 7 events a day. I still try to do that when I'm back home. And I would say infrastructure is something that our state needs. We can produce grain and meat products more efficiently than any country in the world. We have the economic advantage. We are the the competitive advantage, right? But if you can't ship it as efficiently as, say, Brazil, we'll lose that competitive advantage. So our locks, for example, used to be best in the world, but now they're one of the worst in the world. So we have to upgrade those. And I would say our highways, our bridges need that. The most important thing we need to do is get a 10-year permit process down to 2 years. That doubles the cost of roads and bridges because of 10 years of permit process from the federal government. It's wrong.
Would you support privatizing Social Security?
No.
Okay, not at all. What about health care? A GOP mainly led effort to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act didn't work. What's your plan?
Well, it's broken right now, and we have to fix it. My main thing right now is we have to work on the pool structure. What we've done under ACA, we put everybody in the same pool, and if you were high risk, you raised everybody's rates up, and then the healthy people got out. There is a different way to do this. We've seen it in other states like Maine, where they figure out what is the cost for a healthy person, say 30, 35 years old, and we're going to charge everybody that rate, and then we can help augment the premiums for those who are high risk and pay that with federal and state money. It's actually cheaper to do that way, and everybody gets lower rates in the end. So it costs less tax dollars, and yet everybody gets lower rates. And that should be the pool structure we go to. We need more competition, because right now we only have one provider here, and we need more transparency in what the folks are charging for medical things. So there are a lot of different reforms that we can do. But I think changing the pool structure and focusing on the individual market that our farmers are relying on, our real estate agents, our small businesses. You know, in these fish fries again, I had people come up and say they're paying $44,000 a year with their deductible, almost half their income for the folks who came up and talked to me. Others are paying $30,000. It's unacceptable. It's way too high. We can't turn back from it, though we failed this past year.
Do you think anything will change?
It has to. I think we have to make it a priority. I talked to Speaker Ryan Pearce about this, saying this is really the #1 issue within our district, is because we didn't get it passed and folks are suffering. So we have to find some reforms, maybe not as big as we were trying to last year. They need to be more targeted, where we can get more support. What we did last year was we tried to do too much, and we took on too many opponents.
Okay. Well, we're going to right back with some final thoughts. First, a reminder, your comments, important part of the show. If you want to be heard, email your comments to news@ketv.com. Tell us what you think about Don Bacon's campaign. Love hearing from you. We'll be right back. This is KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle. This morning, we've been talking with Republican Congressman Don Bacon. Don't have a lot of time left, but we want to give you a minute to make a final pitch to voters.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. It's been a real privilege to represent the great 2nd District. I'm very proud of tax reform and what it's done. 90% of our workers are getting money back, or they can spend it on groceries or gas, and we're making lives better. We're bringing money back from overseas, and it's being invested here. So we're seeing economic growth nearing 3%. Highest we've seen in decades. Unemployment as low as we've seen in 2 decades. Wages increasing higher than inflation for the first time in 17 years. I'm also proud of what we've done with defense. Our military was suffering, and the work that we did this year are getting our military back on its feet. But we have a lot more work to do. I look forward to working my hardest and doing it with honor and civility. And thank you again for letting me represent you.
Congressman Bacon, thanks very much for being here today, and best of luck to you. And for all of you, if you want to compare the candidates in the 2nd Congressional District, we're going to have this show and the ones we did with Democrats Brad Ashford and Cara Eastman online at ketv.com. Go to the homepage, click on the menu button, and look for Chronicle. Basically, the idea is we want you to be as informed as possible when you go to the polls in May and then in November. I'm Rob McCartney. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here next Sunday morning for KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle.